I was at a meeting today, a recovery meeting, and so people were talking about anxiety. That was the topic. And so there was a lot of shares about how to deal with anxiety, like do yoga, take walks, breathe, take 10 deep breaths, 8 seconds in, 10 seconds out, whatever, all this stuff. But not one share, there's nothing right or wrong with it, but not one share went to the most important aspect of anxiety. Yeah? And that is, who has it? Who has the anxiety? Yeah. So supposedly anxiety is over something usually, a situation, maybe a physical or emotional condition, something. There's usually a topic that anxiety is about, and then some people just have anxiety, but most people it's provoked in a way by thinking. So you're thinking about something like as if you're going to lose what you have or not get what you want or somewhere in between. If you just look at it, you can see it. So, and if you follow that, the biggest influence in an event called anxiety is the someone who has it. They're producing the anxiety, not so much what they're thinking about, but the thinking about it, how it's thought about. Because it's thought about that you're the one who's going to have this anxiety, you're the one who's going to have this event, you're the one that's going to be responsible for this thing, yes? So it follows the same thing in the Course in Miracles where it says in Lesson 2 that you and I give everything all the meaning it has. Or in physics where they say that in any experiment, the biggest influence of the experiment is the observer of the experiment. In other words, the one who's conducting the experiment. So if the experiment is about light and this one who's conducting it is looking for light as a particle, then light appears as a particle. And then if they're looking for light as a wave, light appears as a wave. It almost seems to be at the beck and call of the consciousness that's seemingly observing the light, There's a very big clue in this, really incredibly important, in a sense, clue. Because just like in recovery where they have an inventory process, because most people are extremely obsessed with self. In alcoholism, let's not even say, you gotta say people because we don't know how else to say it. Let's say the mind is very obsessed with this idea of being a self. So most people come in and we do an inventory and we try to shake it off from the delusion that if everyone would just do what we wanted, everything would be great, because that's not true. Because we're giving everything the meaning it has. So you can, you know what I mean? So if let's say you have $2 million. Now $2 million, I would imagine, would translate into at least a financial security, ease, and comfort. At least a month, 6 months in San Francisco, in San Marin County. You could probably do well for $2 million. You start worrying at the end of the 5th month, what's going to happen to me when I run out of money? But with $2 million, it should. If that had an inherent real meaning, that which should overwhelm your condition and make it a better condition. I feel much more relaxed. I have $2 million. But the my of the money has the most potency. Not the money, but the my. It's who thinks has the money that gives the money more meaning than what the money has here, as a general meaning in our society. The one who has the money gives it more meaning. And very rarely does the money ever overwhelm the meaning that the mind is giving it. The mind has a belief that it's never going to have enough, let's say. $2 million ain't going to be enough, nor would $5 million. And therefore that $2 million that everyone would assume would bring you an ease and comfort is just even a bigger thing to obsess over and get anxious about. So is it the money that's provoking the anxiety? Or it's the one who has the money? Well, I'll answer for you. In my view, it's simply the one who has the money. Because we're giving everything all the meaning it has. So while we're trying to deal with all of these effects of, let's say, self-centeredness, it would probably be pretty good to look at the center of the system that's spinning out all these effects, which is self. And maybe, just maybe, if you didn't totally wholeheartedly, and not you never do wholeheartedly, but let's say unconsciously believe that you're this long-lasting, independent, separate entity, it would ease the levels of anxiety that would be created by situations that sort of provoke doubt and concern in you. It would ease going through what can happen to someone here in this life, that you would actually travel lighter over it. Because it ain't the money, it ain't the problem, it ain't the girl leaving. It's not all that. It's the meaning you're giving the girl leaving and the money and the problem. So if this changed, then your relationship with all those things that can happen here would change. Instead of trying to change that, I'm just going to get more money, I'm going to get a better girl, I'm going to get a better problem. It doesn't work that way, does it? It really doesn't. You're still in the mix. You can't get out of the spin cycle. But if you look at that, hey, I'm the biggest influence in what I call my life. I'm the one that's given it all the meaning it has. That's, I think, is incredible information. Because most people, in a way, even the big perpetrators in life, are in a victim sort of state a lot. They're victimized by a fear or an anxiety. They don't seem to have any power over these things that take us over. And in a sense, this tends to locate where the power is, exactly where a problem seems to be, the power is. And in recovery, they say the dilemma is your power, is lack of power. That's the dilemma. So the parasite sucks out our energy, our God-like juice, and then plays God with it. By how? By what? It starts giving everything the meaning it has. So if I'm in a good shape one day, something's a problem, isn't a problem. The next day, if I feel like I'm in bad shape, it is a problem. And the next day I'm in good shape, it isn't a problem. What is it? What is that thing? Does it have an inherent weight and inherent quality that's the same for everybody else, everyone? Or is it just an event of subjectivity, or something being subjectified? So I subjectify that thing called money, and I give it the meaning it has for me. I subjectify that girl, and let's say I make her an object. I only look for her as a body. I subjectify things. I don't, but the mind does. So if the mind changes, obviously how it interprets things will change. To me, that's like that's a signpost worthy to follow. To follow and see if that's so for you. Because if it is so for you, more doors will open up and you'll see more things that are so for you. And then they may be associated with an aha or like an unspoken yes, but another aspect of mind that's not so damn sure of itself, but is more rooted in I don't know, which makes it alert and open to possibilities, and open to being wrong quite a lot, and open to being surprised, and open to doing something totally different than what its mental condition has said it's always done. It's open to those possibilities, which gives some life to life. So all the advice of how to deal with anxiety is good, but like in recovery it says, we'll teach you how to deal with fear, but the whole point is to outgrow fear. When you outgrow fear, then you honor those tools you use to minimize the effects of obsessing with anxiety or fear, to minimize those effects, but when what's causing them is gone, there's no need to use the tool anymore. Now that's a damn good tool. For me, a damn good tool is able to be put down because the work's over. You've outgrown the state of mind that was causing you to see things as threats. You outgrown that state. And now you're living from a different state, or the living is going on from a different state, and it's producing different results in different ways, and different experiences, and different states, and different levels of traveling lighter. And then you start knowing the tree by its fruit. You're starting to feel, Jesus Christ, because you have an intimate recollection of the hell that you were in, and now suddenly, or for a long period of time, you haven't been in that hell, you haven't even been close into that hell, what the hell happened for that shift to occur? Yeah. The turning of the mind may happen in a second, but it reverberates for the rest of your life. As long as you still seem to be here, there's a reverberation of that unspoken yes, or that recalibration. No one may notice it, and your narrator won't notice it for months probably. But something clicks, and there's an aha or a sense of something. It's like a knowing prior to knowing, you know. There's such an assurity of it. It doesn't come into any kind of question. Then you start questioning all the mental assumptions your life has been based on. And you see that they don't hold freaking water when you put them under the light. Yeah? When you actually look at some of the absurd things we take to be so here, it's amazing that we haven't fallen upon them already. Yeah? So everyone, anxiety, this is how I deal with anxiety, this is how I deal with anxiety. I hate when I have anxiety. See, all the different things, all the different topics or objects of anxiety, yeah, all the expressions or the anxiety, all the solutions to anxiety, there was still one determining factor in every one of the shares. There was someone who was having the anxiety. Yeah, that someone is the portal for the meaning of a mental process, you know, full of old ideas and beliefs and conditional reactions, to download into that topic or into that object, and then what happens? The anxiety fest starts. Yeah, it's like the same old, and then there'll be some part of the mental process that will act as if it's observing it. That's also part of the anxiety thing. You, as a self, never leave the content. Never. You're never out of the mud. You're never out of the muck. People go, oh, I can't believe what I've been going through. And they act as if that process is over and they're observing it. The observation of it is part of the process. Yeah? It's their idea of what the solution is can also be part of the process of the problem. Yeah? But if you listen to everybody, there's always one unfailing denominator. There's a long-lasting, independent, separate entity having it, or it's happening to. Yes? After all the thousands of examples of all the, like they say in recovery, you know, self is what has defeated us, manifests in manifests in many ways. And it says, when they talk about fear manifests in thousands of different ways, you know, self-pity and all this stuff. Yeah? Instead of going through all of them, see who's it happening to. That's the one seeming constant. Now, if it was the constant, then you need all these incredible strategies to try to make it easier for that thing to survive here and to travel lighter. But if it isn't truly a constant, that may be the solution. Yeah? That may be the solution. Because when that changes, which is the delivery system for the mind to give meaning to something, that idea of being the self, if that's not so, the meaning gets log-jammed. It sputters. It gets stuck in the pipe. You'll be in a situation and new information can download. It won't be the same old, yeah? And there will be no thought or effort on your part. The thought and effort will be after the fact. Something will have shifted, and therefore you don't do what you used to do. And then you go, wow, look at that. I chose not to do what I used to do. That's just a fucking story. You just didn't do it. Yeah, because there wasn't anyone who ever did it. Yeah? So the possibility of it not being done was available. But if it's you, and you've always done it, the probability that you'll do it again is pretty damn good. Yeah? If it's you, if you have a belief that I always did this, you know, like sometimes you're at a place and you say, I never came here before. But you're here now. You know, oh, I never go here. But you're here. You know, but the statement is, I never go here. But you did go here. You're here. You're like somebody I was seeing would start telling me how much they wanted to really share with me everything, and they hope we could work. And I said, you are. You're sharing it with me right now. But the old story it only could project into a future that someday it will happen, while it was totally happening then. I keep going, you are sharing what's going on with you. I really want to get to a point where I can share what's going on with you. with you like you are sharing that, you know. It's just the most obvious goes unnoticed because the mind is so stuck in the past loop that I never did that with anybody, which is also probably a lie. You did probably, but the story is I never shared what my innermost whatever to somebody, which you have, but the story. So it keeps repeating, and it just assumes that it's going to keep repeating. Yeah? And the probability that it will keep repeating is incredibly amplified if there's a sense of self as the one that used to always do it that way. There will be a sense of self that you're doing it that way now. So we're not trying to change behaviors. We're looking at the self. Yeah? The story of who's the one who has this behavior. Who's the one who has the story that this is never going to get better? Who's the one who has the story that I'll never get this? Yeah? Who's the one? Because if you're not that who, you're not beholden to the story. Yeah? Things can change. You stranglehold on something, it'll be your own hands that release, and then the thing can finally breathe. Your life can finally breathe and get lighter and be flexible and be spontaneous. It has nothing to do with inability. It's something stopping it, like this, choking it with these past references. I always love it. I listen at meetings, and I try to follow where what everyone's saying is coming from, because it's coming from somewhere, So I follow it. And there'll be 800 solutions along the way, but the one inherent problem is never addressed. That's why there's a need for 800 solutions, because the first one didn't really work, the third one doesn't really work, the 600th one doesn't really work, because the problem isn't the problem. It's the one who's seeking the solution is the problem. Yes? Well, it did something with me. It just saved me so much time. I mean, a huge rock filled up with a lot of stuff, but was really drenched in time, was dropped. Yeah? So much running around in circles, mental circles, looking for the exit door in these labyrinthine little hallways of mind where no escape. Just running. They said exit everywhere, but every time you enter just another hallway of solution problems, yeah? Running like a gerbil in a wheel, like a hamster in a wheel. Just because everyone else is moving so fast, it doesn't look like we're moving. But if your mind stops, you'll really see the insanity of this mental rushing going on. Just driven by this pitchfork of time. I've got to prove value, I've got to do this. And then we saw a movie the other day, and I was wondering if they would have ever stopped and asked, what's the ultimate point of what we're doing? Yeah? They would be crestfallen, because there wouldn't be any point. They would see Jesus Christ. But everything is made so important. We've got to get this done by that, or what? Or what's going to happen? I have people call me up. Every week they have an earth-shattering event, but the earth never shatters. So you just wait for another. It's the end of the world for me. The girl left me, it's my end of my world. And I see him 2 weeks later. Well, your world hasn't ended, has it? No. Yeah. It's like projectile vomiting of meaning onto things. Just blah, blah, blah. Can you imagine if that energy could be just sitting and resting and cultivating itself by entertaining? Yeah? Just by the mind entertaining, it cultivates. It spawns itself. And it puts out a very strong sense of presence. Because that thing that you think is you, that thought, that idea, won't be there when you really need it the most. Like when I really got hurt, that narration wasn't even there. Yeah? So it's not reliable whatsoever. But what's reliable is that presence, that onness that we all are, that we are all inherently skating our days on, that onness, and the ability to be aware of that onness, to be aware of that I am, as they say. It can have an incredible, magical, elixir-like effect. It can ease those slow burns, It can soothe the wounds and the sores. Emotional gaps can fill back up. You can have a sense of well-being when you were a broken, supposed person before. All this can be retrieved and recalibrated because the damage in the sense has no reality. Yeah. In a sense, it has no reality. It can only appear to have a reality in time. But if there's that sense of timelessness will always beat time to the draw. Because it's already there. It's already there. And you can't arrive there because you never left there. It's an impossible thing to make anything of. Yeah? But it's always so. Just like, I always like the example of gravity because it makes it works for me where people as a body are under the effect of gravity all day. And yet no one's talking about it. Do you? I never go to a cafe and sit down and talk about the effects of gravity. I never heard anyone speak about it. And you don't even know about it until you feel the effects, but you don't know it's gravity that's causing you to get, winded going up a hill. You don't get the sense of, it just seems to happen. But if you were put into an anti-gravity room, then you would know the effects of gravity by their absence. And that's the exact way, in a sense, you learn about selfing, is when it loses its hold on you or on your mind, then you see it for what it is. When it has a hold on you, it will allow you to see, but you're only seeing from it. Yeah? It doesn't care if you see and get a lot of self-knowledge. It really doesn't, because it still has you basically in place because you're seeing from it, which is that form of looking. But when you see it, when you see it, and you really see that the problem is imaginary, though the effects seem so real, they always dissipate. They don't have staying power in a way. Even the effects of getting run over by a car twice in one night has lingering effects on the leg, but it doesn't have even staying power over the years. It was so incredibly horrendous, and then over the years it got lesser and lesser and lesser. Yeah. So if the solution is that the problem is imaginary, yeah. So the solution is only temporal, only for a little period of time here, actually, because the problem seems to be of time. So then you entertain the solution, which is there is no problem. If it dawns on you that's true, then the problem was truly imaginary, and then there's no need for a solution either. Yeah? That's a real solution. That's actually the real solution. Yeah? You don't even need a solution to an imaginary problem. It's like that thorn in the foot, in the Ramana Maharshi, and it's irritating you as you're walking, and so this is like we have these mental thorns, and as we're living Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, there's this irritation. Some people have it as irritability, restlessness, and discontent. Some people have deep anger or whatever, sad stories about what could have been and what was and all this, whatever it was, but there's all these little thorns, there's a thorn in there. So Ramana Maharshi says, hey, listen, you find another thorn. So here's the problem. You find this thorn, which is this, let's say, this invitation, which is the solution. You use this thorn to take the other thorn out. So now you take the problem out. When you take the problem out, you realize it's imaginary. You don't slip the second thorn in to take its place. It's not going to be any better than the problem, really. It's still a thorn. Yeah? So when you're walking around with the solution, it's still going to be burdensome. You throw it away. That's the solution. Yeah. There's only a solution when you think the problem is real. When you get that it's not real, there's no need for a solution. That's an everlasting solution. Yeah? Everlasting. It's always available at all times. Because it didn't come and it doesn't go. Because there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're just inherently in your own, let's say, mental or mind state. A natural mind state that doesn't have a problem or a solution. Yeah? That's a damn good solution. Yeah? It's reliable. You can travel with it all day, everywhere you go. So if you just go home and think just think about, not just entertain the idea, or do the second lesson, which is you and I give everything the meaning it has. And then that will go somewhere else, yeah? And things will connect. Because that's a principle. That applies to every moment of every day that this apparatus is giving the meaning to what I'm running into. There's a basically agreed upon meaning that that's a chair and this and that, but then there's a riff, the riff that happens. Like we were sharing last night, it's like every one of us is subscribed to Unclear Channel, that giant corporation, Clear Channel. They put they have all these different local radio stations, but it's the same format. It's done in some fucking big cellar or whatever, but each one has a different name for a station, like K-San or K-Bob, So they're thinking they're unique, but in a sense we're under Unclear Channel, right? We've got this mental narrative, and the mental narrative, every time you listen to it intently, you believe you're a special, individual, long-lasting, separate entity. You're not. No other radio station is like your radio station. No one's been buying the products or selling the products that you have. No one's done the things you've done at this radio station. and that story can go on and on, but let's say you run into a program of recovery where people get together who have been subscribed to Unclear Channel, and they describe what it's like, and the golden oldies, and they sound like your golden oldies. Your favorite tunes. I'm a loser, it's never going to get better, And then, that little special show on Sundays, what if? Or, if only I, or what I should have, everyone has that little channel. What happens when you see it as not you? There's a huge possibilities offered. You can be free of it. It won't take long for the mind to respond to that possibility. Hey, I'm not that. You can be free of it. And maybe it's even past that. You are free of it. Then your interest and intention, instead of wedded to that dead station, describing every day's news from a past newscast. You know what I mean? Every day's news. Every news thing that happens is just referred to an old thing that you thought happened. What a way to fucking interpret life. It's going to get stale, isn't it? It's going to be like the same old and same old. And then you're almost apt to do anything to get relief. You'll jump off of bridges with bungee cords. You'll shoot cocaine in your neck, You'll fucking drive super fast. You'll sleep with your best friend's wife. These things, the mind will start seeking in incredible ways to get relief from its own knot that it seems to have gotten tangled in. There's a solution. And that is the problem's imaginary. Entertaining. And if it starts hitting you and starts seeming to be true, you'll know the effects. You'll feel them. You'll feel a little better and easier to travel through situations that used to be really heavy for you. And that solution will progress just like what they say in recovery, the problem progresses, the solution will progress, or the recovery from the seeming problem will progress. The expressions will get more multitude in different ways, and you'll see, because you will be the giver of the beauty to things, you'll see beauty in a lot of places. Like I have 3 bird things at my house, a window looking out. I got one for woodpeckers. I love these. The woodpeckers are my favorite. But the hummingbirds I also are my favorite. And then I got the sparrows and then the ground feeders. And so they come all day and they feed. And the hummingbirds, they just don't go anywhere anymore. They just play with each other and they just sit there. And they're not afraid of humans either. And they're just doom buzzing around. And you just see this beautiful little event, and everyone gets fed. And it's not even on purpose. The one sparrow's eating these things from the feeder. He just throws a lot of the seeds out. They land on the ground feeders get those. Now he's not doing it as charitable work. It's just the nature of the dance. And they're getting the food. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Now we have a story that puts us as the chooser and as the doer. And this idea of volition, and that's everything is charted by my own navigation, and I'm on my course, and I'm going this way. And what has that brought us? A lot of conflict in ourselves and with others. When I went to Delancey, I left there after 2 years, graduated. And when I left, I had to begrudgingly admit, man, that my life looked better with them running it than it ever did with me running it. And I just truly realized I'm just not managerial quality. I need to find another navigator. What was ever dictating or interpreting or narrating or navigating my life was fucking a drunk sailor running into the Bay Bridge, basically. It was just fucking out of control. So I was ripe and ready to go for the surrender, man. I was just waiting to find whatever that possibility was to surrender, what to or of, And man, has it worked over these years? Just to let go of the steering wheel, and the car drives itself pretty damn well. I'll tell you the truth. I think it has GPS, navigation already put in it. It's going where it's going. And then you can watch the scenery a lot more. If you're not so intent on getting somewhere or driving and seeing everyone who's an obstacle from you getting what you want, if you can give up all those little mental gyrations of the steering of a life and just take those mental hands off the wheel, you'll be much better off for it. You'll have peace. You'll comprehend the word serenity. You'll know peace. You'll have a new attitude and outlook upon life. You'll know a new freedom and a new happiness, not the conceptual freedoms and happiness you've been running after your whole life, not the conceptual idea of serenity and peace, getting like a mud bath, and getting whatever it was. But you actually will know a whole different dictionary of meanings to things, and you'll find them out as they download in your life. You'll find different meanings to what you call love and relationships and intimacy. They'll all take different looks, yeah? And because your mind's open now. It's not an open and shut case of self-centeredness. It's not locked into this little autobiography, yeah? It's more of an open book. A lot of things can come in and write in it, and then then it's read through you. And it's really like sometimes quite a wonderful event when you feel as if you're a hose and things are moving through, like water, like when you do talks, yeah? When I used to do them in this dry dock, that was my first sense, is I was just a hose. I walked in there. The message was more important than who was going to hear the message or the messenger. And so if I was willing, it would come through. And I would feel as if something was moving through that had such it left like a scent of wellness as it went through, And I batted 1,000. I did it for 19 years, I think. Every Monday. It's amazing. I was a very smart character. I knew something was working there, and I was just going to keep on doing it because it didn't go no. You've had enough. It was come on. If you're willing, it's going to come through. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then after a while, you realize there ain't no hose. It's just the water. This hose is just an idea. It's just the water. The water here has to express itself seemingly through a hose, so here's the hose. But it ain't the hose, it has nothing to do with it. Yeah, it's sort of cool. So just look, if you bring back everything, follow your own importance, the importance of you as the interpreter of this place, the importance of a you, because that's part of the interpretation. See that the interpretation just doesn't start and finish here. You're of the interpretation. The feeling of being you is the mental interpretation. You, the feeling of being Paul, that feeling that comes up when there's an action because the sense that Paul's the doer, when there's a thought because there's a sense that Paul's the thinker, when there's a feeling because then there's a sense that Paul's the feeler. Yeah, when there's something there's hearing, and then there's the sense of Paul's the hearer, that is conjured up every moment in conscious contact. It couldn't even be conjured up without conscious contact. Yeah, the conscious contact happens, which is we're just this seeming interface for consciousness to have an experience here. But in the story, from this point of view, from the point of view of the interface is the one that's seeing. And the one that's hearing, and the one that's feeling, and the one that's tasting. And it even goes so far to say, and the one that's choosing, and the one and has volition, and adds up, gives itself more and more credit. Yeah? So much credit which only weighs us down in the mental interpretation. It's really heavy to be the center of the universe. You know? It's really heavy to be responsible for how everyone else feels. You know, at a meeting or something. Oh, they're unhappy. I mustn't have been good tonight. Why does everything always pertain to you? Can't it have its own trajectory? Yeah. Why is all the trajectories are their movement and their direction is based on our reference point? Can't we just see this as a trajectory too? Millions of trajectories happening in the seamless, vast, empty sky like mine too? Maybe. I find it works better. Yeah. So if you follow back, just bring it back. Like, I heard all this good advice about anxiety, yeah. But I always like to finish with all of it. Who needs it? Who needs to have advice about anxiety? The one that's giving most of the meaning to everything and producing the anxiety. Why do I want to surrender the tools to get relief from anxiety to the source of anxiety? Because then the tools will become another source of anxiety. I haven't been doing I didn't do the 8 breaths. Oh no. You'll be anxious. I didn't do what I know I should have done. Yeah? It'll take the tools to relieve you of anxiety to promote more anxiety. You get a meditation practice and now you're totally flipped out. I didn't meditate this morning. You're waiting for a safe to fall on you, like you're going to be punished. I got to get home as soon as possible. You got to do an hour of meditation in half an hour. You know what I mean? Okay, who's playing God there? You, eh? So the thing is meant to bring you relief from anxiety, and it's provoking more anxiety. Only the source of anxiety could do that, yeah? What, me? Oh, yes. I have nothing to do with this. People are fucking with me all day. Everyone's fucking out to get me. Well, you're playing some role in it, bro. That's how it works. You know? And if you put all your attention on that, you'll never see the solution. Because it's not out there. It's to look in and see what's going on. Or who's it going on to. Yeah. I found, without that sense of self being diminished, this would have been a continual urban renewal project. There has been so much fault found in how I live and how I was and how I am and how I think I'm going to be, that it was just going to be a constant job. Yeah? Either ducking the work or doing the work and then having it critiqued all day from the playing God aspect of selfing, which I'm always going to get an F on all the tests. You know what I mean? Go to summer school and everything like that. But it'll be a never-ending work in progress. I mean, I want a long recess. I want to hear Alice Cooper, school's out for summer. That's it. I just let it go. Put the picks and forks down, the shovels, and hey, this is how it is. Because it ain't. This can be totally the way it wants to be because it isn't. When I thought it was, there was no way I was going to allow it to be the way it was because it should be better. But if it's not me, it can be just the way it is. That's fucking freedom in a sense, yeah? It's such a relief. You put the ball down, and there's a relief there. And yet, you've been carrying it so long, your structure has been determined by the weight. So you're bent like a hunchback. So it's not just putting the ball down. The resurrection or the restitution or the restoration of your life happens. Yeah, so you're not looking down so much all the time. You're looking up. You can see what's going on. You can open up. All this happens just from putting the ball down. It's just not putting the rock down, but the way you were carrying it also lets loose. Happens over time usually, yeah? So these things that were hard get softer, and all these little emotional knots start loosening, and the mental knots start loosening, and you have a damn nice sense of well-being, and you can be content in your own skin because it's not your own skin, in a way. You can finally give up the fucking ghost. Like really, really stop. Get off of that conveyor belt and stop. Yeah? And be okay with the stop. And withstand the mental assault that keeps trying to, like that bugle thing in the army when they call you for attention, dun 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 dun, whatever that thing is, you don't hear it anymore. You hear it, but you don't listen to it anymore. If there's nothing to do, you don't do anything. If someone calls you for work, I go to work. Yeah. I don't want to watch Die Hard number 7 for the 8th time because I'm bored, Well, I hope you get the impression I'm attempting to sort of express. What's wrong with a little ease and comfort in one's life? Yeah? I think it just works so much better if you have a sense of fulfillment instead of a constant state of agitating, trying to fulfill. Yeah? If there can be a state of fulfillment, it just really soothes that agitation of constantly attempting to fulfill more, become fulfilling more and more and more and more. No, this is more than enough, I'm really happy for what's not in my life and what's in my life. Everything is cool, in a sense. And to be able to respond to that, like it says in recovery, you'll have the ability once again to enjoy peace of mind. Because there is peace of mind. But most people can't enjoy it because they're enslaved to the idea of time, They're driven. And peace doesn't play that game. Yeah. So for the piece to be entertained, you sort of have, it's like a slow dance. You can't do a jitterbug with it. You've got to adapt and do a waltz with it. Yeah? Your mind has to slow down and be able to stay right where it is. Yeah? Not get on that moving train of time. And then there's the ability to enjoy peace of mind. But none of those destinations of that train are ever going to take you to peace of mind. It's only now, Once you dance with peace of mind, it's a sort of nice dance. You like to go back. Yeah. Feel your dance caught up. Serenity, contentment is very good. Contentment I like better because it can do all the dances. But serenity's good, peace of mind. Clarity is pretty nice. Yeah. These are all qualities that are available to mind. So any questions tonight? This is sort of like a fireside chat tonight. Shot my wad last night. Got too high because we meditated. That's not good for me. Before the meeting to talk. I was sitting there. It was like a nuclear reactor. I was saying, you won't be happy with this.